Sound check, mic check, video check. Everything's good. Let me know. I got my headphones on today because I want to be able to hear what you guys hear. And this is a very sensitive microphone, one of these Blue Yetis. It picks up a lot of background noise. So I think I'll do this going forward. This way I can make sure there's no feedback and stuff like that. So everything sound good? Everything look good? Going with this natural lighting thing, and sometimes it's blurry. As you guys can tell, whenever I'm recording a video at night, you can clearly tell. It's super annoying. I got to get one of those ring lights so that I'll have consistent lighting. So let's see. Got some people watching. Sound is good. What's up, Malcolm? Belittle. Saw your email, Belittle. I'll respond to it soon. Actually, I saw someone comment saying that I should get a P.O. box. I will be getting a P.O. box within the next week, just a heads up. So be on the lookout for that. I'll announce it when it's all finalized. I got some other things coming down the pipeline too. Okay, cool. Everything looks and sounds great. All right, perfect. Perfect, guys. All right. So yeah, guys. So from now on, I want you guys to address me as Moscow Mike. I'm not Mike Nificent. I'm Moscow Mike. I know I come across as just an American patriot, but I truly am an asset for the Russian government. That's right, guys. I'm sorry to tell you, Vladimir Putin personally funds my campaign to brainwash my followers with common sense, critical thinking, and just straight up using your eyes and ears and brain. So sorry to tell you guys, I'm Moscow Mike. I am an asset to the Russian Federation, and my only goal is to undermine US politics by just telling the truth on the internet. So I'm really sorry to tell you guys, but from now on, it's Moscow Mike. Sorry, guys. No, but in all seriousness, this whole what am I saying today? This whole Tulsi Gabbard versus Hillary Clinton thing is very fascinating to me for a number of reasons. Number one, I really didn't think that it would garner this much attention, where everybody has chimed in, from certain people who I'm not sure if I should even say their name because YouTube is so sensitive with their algorithms, and their terms of conditions are so vague that they might demonetize just by saying the person's name. I probably will say their name shortly, but that person has chimed in all the way to people on CNN, Van Jones, and everybody in between, Tim Pool, Anthony Bryan, Logan, everybody has some kind of opinion about this Tulsi Gabbard, Hillary Clinton thing. Now, here's what I think. I think this is a litmus test to see where people truly stand, right? Because I looked on Twitter, and everybody, not everybody, but there are a lot of people who side with Hillary Clinton, which is very surprising. That it's one thing if you don't like Tulsi and you disagree, but to side directly with Hillary and to push her absolute conspiracy theory, that's a conspiracy theory. It'd be one thing if it was grounded in truth or if it was factual, but she just casually smeared Tulsi. And you have a lot of people who just follow it. I guess you could call them sheeple. It's a conspiracy theory that is blown up. Hang on, get some water. I'm gonna do quite a bit of talking. Remember, guys, hydration is key. Get yourselves a water filter that filters out fluoride, not minerals, but fluoride. That was a necessary detour. But okay, people are following this conspiracy theory that Tulsi is a Russian asset. The way I see the whole Russian asset thing, that's just a smear tactic. It is no different than saying deplorable, dreg of society, Russian bot, traitor, all those terms, those tar and feather slanderous terms, used when anyone goes outside of the dogma, as Tulsi Gabbard does, as Ron Paul did, as Trump did. This is just people who are outside of that mainstream. So that's why I see it as a litmus test. Are you someone that is principled, or are you an ideologue? If you're an ideologue, which pretty much every other Democrat candidate is, they're towing the party line. They're not straying outside of it. And that's why they're not being smeared by the media. That's why they're not being censored by Google or big tech, right? They're being funded by donors. They're just staying right in line, staying in their assigned swim lane. But people like a Tulsi Gabbard, Moscow Mike, we are all outside of the mainstream. It really doesn't matter if you're left or right. If you have principles and values that are true to you, then you don't care about a political party. Some things are just simply nonpartisan. But if you have a partisan lens, you're like, well, this is what my side traditionally thinks and believes, so I'm sticking to that. And that's where we find people who are ideologues, people who treat politics like a religion or like a team sport. They're like, my team wins. We're the best. I'm not going against my team. That was a bad play call, but I won't criticize it because it's my team, ride or die. I'm not one of those guys. I'm not a person like that. And that's why I think there's such a difference between liberal and Democrat, just like there's a difference between conservative and Republican. If you're a conservative, that means the way you see the world, your personal preference, the way you choose to live your life, raise your family, pursue your aspirations, your goals, you're doing it in a conservative way. And that can mean whatever for you. But generally, it's kind of similar regardless of who you are. Conservative is conservative. Liberal, same thing. But when you get to the political side of things, like Democrat, Republican, that's ideology. That's not values. That's ideology. And those ideologies have grown into a dogma over the years. That's why I don't even see left, right, or Democrat, Republican anymore. I do still talk about Democrats, like I'll say the left, this and that. That's because if you were to bring an alien down from space and say, hey, look, here's a two-party system. What do you think? Who's the problem? Are both sides a problem or one side a problem? If they don't know anything about politics, they're going to look at it and it'll be really obvious. They'll see the far left. They'll see the people shouting through a megaphone all of this radicalism. They'll see that and be like, okay, that's obvious. But then they'll probably also, if they're looking at it just unbiasedly, they'll say, yeah, but this side is kind of a problem too, albeit a lesser problem. You know, I think we're moving away from voting for the lesser of two evils, right? That's usually how it has gone in politics. It's like voting for the lesser of two evils is like voting Republican. Okay, but if you're voting for the lesser of two evils, you're still voting for evil. Right? That's just how it is. So I see it as right now, people are inside of this matrix. The people who are floating this Russian asset thing that's been so thoroughly debunked. I said last night in my video, China is the biggest geopolitical threat to the United States, to freedom, to national sovereignty, period. That's not even up for debate or discussion. I'm not saying Russia is not a problem, but China is the elephant in the room as far as problems go and political influence and undermining elections and censorship. And the list goes on and on and on. China is the biggest influence, not Russia. But if you have people who are willing to believe that there's Vladimir Putin and Russia, they're the ones we have to watch out for, and look at who they're backing, you're in the matrix. You're literally just swallowing whole whatever you're being fed by the corporatist media. Now, the reason why I think it's important to stand with Tulsi in this situation is not because I think that she deserves to be president. I don't think she's viable at all. But if you're principled, you care about what's right and wrong. And what's wrong is to wrongfully smear someone, especially when they're calling out something that's right, calling out the foreign policy establishment, that both parties are corrupt. Let me just read this tweet really quick, because I'm sure you guys by now have read it, but just the truth in this tweet. Great. Thank you, Hillary Clinton. You, the queen of warmongers, embodiment of corruption and personification of the rot that has sickened the Democrat Party for so long, have finally come out from behind the curtain. There's so much truth in that. The rot, the decay, the status quo, the establishment, going back to how this is not a partisan issue. Either you're anti-establishment or you're not. So while I don't agree with her policies, I agree with her anti-establishment stance, right? That shouldn't be a partisan issue, because both parties are part of the establishment. Again, that's why Trump got elected, because people are fed up with the status quo, especially when it relates to foreign policy. Is it right or wrong to nation build and drone kids like Obama did? Uh-oh, there's the demonetization. Oops. Some people said, Joey, one of my moderators, he's like, Mike, you gotta now that you're doing this full time, you gotta make sure that you tiptoe around language. Like, so that's something I have to work on. I'm not going to be a self-censored person, but at the same time, I got to be mindful of how I articulate things. So maybe not being as graphic as I just was, even though that's the truth. Anyway, when you're talking about foreign policy and engaging in costly, both economically and in human capital, human lives, when you're talking about regime change wars and proxy wars and all the stuff that we've done throughout history, I mean, is that right or wrong? Is that something where you're like, well, Republicans think this, so I'm going to side with them, or Democrats think this, I'm going to side with that? No, it's the military industrial complex. That's what she called out. That's what Ron Paul called out. Go back and look at some of Ron Paul's speeches back in when he ran for president in 2012, and he got railroaded by the Republican Party. You know, so when you look at that, it's like, you should stand on your principle. So I can stand with Tulsi on that, but on nothing else. But I think it's important, if you want to take down the establishment, you should support whoever it is. I've seen some comments on Twitter where people are saying, Tulsi should be a Republican. She should come to the other side. I mean, I kind of agree. She probably should. She doesn't seem like a traditional liberal or Democrat. Actually, she is a classical liberal, I think. But she doesn't want to cross over, because I think in her mind, I could be completely off base here. I think in her mind, she probably sees what's the problem over there. She sees the problem. Rather than her crossover and become a conservative, she has liberal values. Again, liberal versus Democrat, conservative versus Republican. She sees herself as a classical liberal. She sees the party has been corrupted by people like Hillary Clinton. And so rather than run from it, she wants to make it great again. Good for her. She wants to bring it back to a level of civility. She has liberal values. That's okay. She's allowed to have that. You know, I caught a lot of flack when I first mentioned this, when I first ever mentioned, I think I mentioned Andrew Yang. I made a video about Andrew Yang and I got a whole bunch of flack for it. I'm like, really, guys, you think I'm going to vote for that guy? I was just saying at the time, this is before I started to see kind of how he really is. I was like, I mean, he's kind of a breath of fresh air. If you look at the Democrat field, I mean, at least he's not doing this, that, and the third. Right? It's because I can acknowledge that there are people that I disagree with, and that's always going to be the case. That's fine. But I'm not going to just write them off because they're on the other side. I mean, if that were the case, I would have to write off some friends and family. Does that make any sense? If I were just so committed to tribalism that anyone who disagrees with me, or politically especially, then I can't be friends with them. I can't say anything nice about them. That would just mean I'm a hardliner, like what I say about a lot of the left. A lot of the left is very rigid in, pushing people out who do not align with them lockstep. Every single thing, you must be aligned on it. You have to agree. That's a starting point. I don't know if anybody saw the most recent Flecka's talks. That guy goes out and he's polite. He's very just down to earth, authentic. He's not waving a Trump flag in anybody's faces. He's just trying to genuinely have conversations with people. But if you notice, anytime you go to one of these protests, the people who are on the left, they won't even engage in conversation. Like, the starting point is you have to agree that Donald Trump is the second coming of that guy from Germany back in the day. You got to agree. That's the starting point before they'll even engage in conversation, because they're hardliners. So I'm not going to be that person. And I think a lot of people are not like that. So you got to get to a point where you can have these conversations, understand what people think and believe, and see, like, okay, that's fine. You're allowed to do that. That's where Tulsi, I think, wants to bring the party back. So that's where she's at. But the fact that Hillary would go out there and make this up and smear her and then bring Jill Stein into it tells me that they're afraid. They're afraid of that side of this two-party establishment that's been selling out this country for decades is starting to crumble. They're afraid of her. They fear her. That's why that's why everything is sort of rigged against her right now, similar to how it was rigged against Trump and is still rigged against Trump. So my point is, if Hillary and the establishment hate her, that's a good thing. That's a really, really good thing that they hate her, because that means she goes against everything they stand for. Right? So, like, I can retweet her. I retweeted Marianne Williamson. Does that mean I want her to be president, or did she drop a truth bomb? I'm going to read you her tweet. It's nothing crazy. It's nothing outside of the norm. You could basically put a Republican's name next to it. It'd mean the same thing. It says, the Democrat establishment has got to stop smearing women it finds inconvenient. The character assassination of women who don't toe the party line will backfire. Stay strong, Tulsi. You deserve respect, and you have mine. Andrew Yang, Tulsi Gabbard deserves much more respect than this. She literally just got back from serving our country abroad. I retweeted that. Does that mean I want him to be president? No. What I recognize with those three candidates specifically is they're outside of the establishment. They don't want them in. Therefore, they deserve to have their voices heard. They deserve to stay in the political discussion. Remember, I told you guys probably about, a month or so ago, and I actually got this idea from another YouTuber. I can't take credit for this idea, but I think it's interesting. YouTuber by the name of Nuance Bro. He said that he's a registered independent because he wants to vote in the Democrat primaries, because he thinks it's important to guide the destiny of this country every step of the way, instead of focusing on your party exclusively. So that would mean voting out and making sure that the worst people that are running for president don't move up in the polls, don't get the nomination. I agree with that. That makes a ton of sense. Not that you're going to vote for them against Trump, obviously, but it's a way to rebel against the establishment. Again, either you're anti-establishment or you're not. And a lot of people, I'm not the first one to even bring this up, by the way. I'm not the first person to finally start to level up and see that both sides are at fault. A lot of people, I think, subconsciously knew, like, well, the status quo is, Democrat and Republican. And although Republicans are doing bad, the left is way worse, right? Everybody knew that. But how many people actually have the gall to call it out and speak up about it and stand on principle? You see Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson doesn't agree with Tulsi Gabbard politically, obviously, but he still gives her a voice because her voice is important, and her voice is calling out the foreign policy establishment. I mean, Other people have called this out too, calling out neoconservatives. I think Steven Crowder even did this. So there's several other more prominent people who see exactly what I see. I think it's very important to get there instead of focusing so much on the tribe. And that's what a lot of people are doing, is they're focused on the tribe. So this is a huge litmus test. I feel the paradigm is shifting. You know, the global awakening, again, this is not just unique to the United States. There is a global awakening. There's a lot of unrest. There are protests happening across the globe. People are standing up to corrupt governments. They want freedom and liberty. They're tired of whatever their establishment government orthodoxy is in their country. They're waking up to it and they're starting to react. This is no mistake. This is spiritual warfare. It's not Democrat, Republican. It's not even conservative, liberal. It's not authoritarian, libertarian. It's two competing global views that are clashing, and they're playing out on the political stage, which is why you're seeing populist candidates being elected in countries like Italy, in Brazil, Hungary. There's a lot of just rebellion to what has been the status quo that has led the entire globe to where it is now. Look around you. You got Hong Kong. That's the obvious most important one right now. Not the most important, but that's the one that's getting the most attention. You've got Hong Kong. You had the yellow vest. I don't know if that's still going on in France, but the yellow vest protests. You got protests in Barcelona. You had them in Puerto Rico. You got them in Ecuador. You got them in Haiti. There's another South American country where they're protesting now too. Chile. Yeah. So you got Chile, you got Ecuador, you got Haiti, Barcelona, Hong Kong. Why is it all happening? What are they protesting against? Corruption, big government, authoritarianism, ideology that is, quite frankly, evil and sinister at its very nature. People are rebelling and waking up against it. They're waking up to it and they're starting to rebel against it. So when you look at a Tulsi Gabbard versus Hillary Clinton, look deeper, because I think it's very fascinating that everybody has chimed in. Now, let me bring up what they're doing now to smear Tulsi. I said in the beginning, I'm like, oh, I don't know if I want to say this guy's name, but I feel like this video may already be demonetized because of what I said about Obama. But David Duke, okay? David Duke is trending on Twitter. Why? Because he endorsed Tulsi Gabbard. They're talking about it like it's new. He endorsed her back in like January. Whenever it was that she announced, he endorsed her right away. Why did he endorse her? Why? He endorsed her because of her stance on foreign policy and foreign intervention. That's why he endorsed her. But they're smearing it and they're making it seem like, oh, he endorsed David Duke got the endorse. He endorsed Tulsi Gabbard. Look, he endorsed Donald Trump. You know who else he endorsed? Ilhan Omar, because of her rhetoric. So that has nothing to do with political ideology. That has everything to do with his values and Omar's values, because they probably disagree on politics, but they agree on what she's been saying. So the way that they're doing it to smear Tulsi is just another tactic. It's another tactic for him to be trending. And I've been calling it out this morning on Twitter too. And then I get called, oh, you're just a Trumper. You're a Trumper. They always go with the ad hominem attacks. When they can't attack the message, they attack the messenger, which means the message must be effective. Right? If they go around the message and then they say like, oh, you're just a MAGA guy. Okay, what does that have to do with the fact that I just said David Duke supports Ilhan Omar and her rhetoric about Israel? What? So you're mad. You're selectively outraged. You're going to cherry pick and say, oh, look at Tulsi's being endorsed by these alt-right figures. But those same alt-right figures like the way Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar and Linda Sarsour talk about Israel. Just saying. You know, there's a lot of people, Louis Farrakhan and David Duke and Ilhan Omar all say the same thing. They have the same view of Israel. Okay. But outside of that, they probably don't agree on anything else. Obviously, that should be pretty obvious. But that's what's trending, because they're trying to use that as a straw man to paint this like they did Donald Trump. So again, you know, let me see what you guys are saying in the comments. And thank you to who sent the super chat. I'm sorry I got on a roll and I couldn't. Oh, okay, cool. I scrolled back up. B Little said, politics is no team sport. Serve your constituents. I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. Did anyone else say anything? You have to put the @ sign for me to read it, for me to see it, because it'll pop up as bold, or it'll highlight it for me. Yeah, Daisy said everybody hates Hillary, doesn't make Tulsi a hero. Yeah, nobody's saying she's a hero. Definitely, you didn't hear me say that. You did not. All I said is I agree that she's anti-establishment. And I think two things can be true at the same time, right? I can disagree with Marianne Williamson. I don't think she's that bad. I mean, that cringy prayer apology was just weird. But she called out how the left is so mean. She said mean. I would use a different word. But she saw that they're mean and they're unfairly smearing her. She's like someone's cool hippie grandma, right? But that they're smearing her. Why? Because she doesn't fit into their box. Just like they smeared Ron Paul because he didn't fit into their box. I'm telling you, it's so true. It's not even hard to see. You just have to be willing to see it. I've said 1,000 times that the truth is a value. You have to value the truth in order for it to be effective. The truth isn't always pretty. It isn't flowery. It isn't always fun. It isn't always refreshing. It will piss you off, but it'll set you free. But the truth of the matter is you have to want the truth. You have to value it. You could tell someone the truth right now, but if they don't value the truth, they're going to reject it. They're going to get unhinged. They're going to get angry. And that's what you see happen at these protests. When you see these liberals, go watch any of these man on the street videos, Liberty Hangout, Flecka's Talks, Slightly Offensive, any of these man on the street videos, you see how unhinged people are. A lot of them are brainwashed. We know this much, but they're being confronted with truthful information, not partisan, whatever. It's just truth. Like, hey, you know that the Russian collusion thing was a hoax, right? You know that the Kavanaugh thing was a hoax, right? And here's the proof that it's a hoax. Here's the proof that Joe Biden is on record saying what he said about Ukraine and how he actually used quid pro quo. They reject it. They're like, la, 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 la. That goes against what I said. They just reject it. So people are rejecting truth because they don't value truth. You have to be interested in it. I forget where I learned that from, that the truth is a value. But when I first heard it, it just made so much sense to me. Tulsi is nothing but a distraction from Hillary email report that just came out. Yeah, that's very true. That's true. Hillary threw up a smokescreen for sure. But here's the thing about it. It doesn't, we could find out anything about Hillary Clinton right now, but it wouldn't matter. We could find out that she pops balloons at kids' birthday parties. We could find out that she ran someone over with a car. None of it matters unless she gets brought to justice. There's so much information out there right now on this woman that we just will never see her go to jail for. Don't call me a pessimist, but that's just kind of the truth of the matter right now. She's very powerful. She knows a lot of people in high places. She's being caped for. They're protecting her. she is seen as their, I don't know, their high priest, because they see that ideology as a religion. They're ideologues. So she's protected from all of her criticism, all of her corruption, all of her wrongdoing, all the things that they could point out for her. They just flat out ignore it because they're loyal to their tribe. They're loyal to their tribe. They're like, I don't care that she took pictures with Robert Byrd. I don't care that Robert Byrd, the grand wizard that is Robert Byrd, I don't care that that was her mentor. I don't care that she admired Margaret Sanger's vision. She is on our side, and Trump is the big bad orange man, and he did all these things. So until we get to the point where people can stand on principle and not political affiliation, it doesn't matter what comes out about Hillary. Doesn't matter. Got 121 people watching. Appreciate all you guys watching me. 122 now. Please give this a like. Please give it a thumbs up, because we know the haters are giving it a thumbs down. Joey said, what about Big Mike throwing her jockstrap into the ring? Oh, man. When Joey says that, Joey said, what about Big Mike throwing her jockstrap into the ring? He's saying, what about Michelle Obama running for president? Is that going to happen? I don't think it's going to happen, but who am I to say? I really honestly don't know. I haven't given it much thought, honestly. I think the most probable scenario is Crooked H throwing her name in the hat, but she's going to wait. And I did hear this from InfoWars. I'm just going to say it, but hey, it could be true. He said, Alex Jones said, he thinks Hillary is going to run. That's why she's going around on this book tour. That's why she's been in the public. She's been in the spotlight for a couple of weeks. If you hadn't noticed, she just resurfaced, which seemed like out of nowhere. She hasn't responded to Tulsi yet on Twitter. She's been pretty quiet about that, but that's besides the point. She's been making the rounds and critiquing people and making her voice heard because she plans to surface. At first, I thought, well, maybe she's going to be Elizabeth Warren's running mate, but no, that would just be the kiss of death. Not like Elizabeth Warren has a chance anyway, but Hillary Clinton would almost certainly sink her as a VP. But Hillary still controls the DNC, right? Which is why she went right at Tulsi. That's why I think Hillary's the one that we have to worry about, because she's very corrupt. She's got everybody backing her. It would be just like 2016. All of the important people would back her: big tech, Hollywood, the media, donors. All those people would back her. And she's got an army of minions, believe it or not, that still support her and see her as that high priest of their religion. I think she's the one that we have to worry about. She would probably jump in sometime next year. I know the impeachment vote has been delayed, I guess, but if the impeachment vote does move forward and it's on the Senate floor or whatever, once it's in the middle of that, once Trump is tied up in the impeachment, that's when she would resurface after most of these other bozos drop out, right? After the people who have no business on the stage. Now we should be able to see, like, okay, there's really only 3 to 4 people who actually have a shot at the nomination. Cory Booker needs to drop out. Beto, Klobuchar, Kamala Harris, Yang, honestly, Tulsi and Marianne Williamson, they should drop out. I'm happy that they're not, because they're anti-establishment. But just in terms of who's actually got a real shot at the nomination, once that slims down, that's when Hillary will resurface, because Biden, it's a matter of time. He's circling the drain. Same with Bernie, right? Bernie's got the shot in the arm hoping today with his little rally that he's got Michael Moore and AOC, and he's got the squad endorsing him. But it's really going to boil down between establishment versus progressive, right? And Bernie, I don't think Bernie's going to make it. Elizabeth Warren is the wild card because she's establishment, but she's trying to have that progressive appeal. So I think what it would come down to is Hillary jumping in next year sometime. That's what I could see. But I don't think it's going to be, that was a long-winded answer. I don't necessarily think it's going to be Michelle Obama. I could see Michelle Obama in 2024. In all honesty, guys, I want it to be Hillary. I hope that she jumps in and gets the nomination. Why? Because it'll be so easy. That'll be the lowest hanging fruit ever to just expose her for what she truly is, and then call out all the hypocrites who are still going to vote for her despite all of her ties, since they bring up everything about Trump. Donald Trump jaywalked when he was 10 years old. He stole a piece of candy. He smoked a cigarette one time when his parents weren't home. Like, all the little petty stuff that they like to bring up, we'll just bring up the stuff about Hillary's past. Think about how much more information there is out there about Hillary than there was in 2016. How many more mics are out there, right? I didn't know any of this back in 2016, but look how much information I have now in a short 3 years. How many more people are waking up? Again, going back to this whole global consciousness, this awakening that's happening, not just in the United States. People are aware. People are paying attention. Donald Trump was necessary. His election was so necessary because it ruptured the establishment. Dare I say, he came in like a wrecking ball. He did, and it was needed. We needed Trump, whether you like him or not. Most of us obviously support Trump, but whether you like him or not, he was a necessary disruption because it shook people out of the matrix. There's still a lot of people just orbiting in that matrix, just blinded. But there's more people outside of it. And not only are they outside of the matrix, they looked around, they see, wow, this is what's going on. They're able to see the matrix clearly. I'm one of those people. I can see it. I see these people pulled into the vortex of left-right paradigm. I see them on Twitter. I mean, I see the people, quite frankly, the people that are going to these turning point events and all these other conservative organizations that are not grassroots, by the way, not grassroots. I see them. They're just being programmed to be robotic in talking points and talk about GDP is up and yada, yada, yada. That's it. They're trying to fill the vacuum of what was the Republican Party. Trump destroyed that. He knocked that all down. What is the Republican Party anymore? Who are the real Republicans? Do we know? Is there such thing as real Republicans? What ideology that's upstream from politics, what culture that's upstream from politics is going to fill that vacuum once Trump is gone? When we hit 2024, what's going to happen? Who's going to be elected? Trump Jr.? I don't know. Maybe. I haven't gotten that far yet. I'm posing that question to you guys, really. What's going to happen in 2024? Where do we go from here? When you can see the rhinos, you can see the Mitt Romneys, the Lindsey Grahams, the Marco Rubios, all the people that are siding with the left, opposing Trump because he's not one of them. They're done. They're done for. Their time's up. They've already been in Washington for far too long. But what happens next? The same thing needs to happen on the left. It's kind of happening on the left. When you have candidates like Tulsi who have the gall to call out Hillary Clinton, that was a bold tweet. And she's being treated the same way Trump is. She's necessary, which is why she should stay there. There needs to be a left-wing Trump, quite frankly, because that side of the establishment has not yet crumbled. It needs to. Trump has definitely exposed it just by being elected. The veil has been lifted. We see exactly what they support, what they stand for. Look at the radical ideology. Look how much they have shifted. They've lurched as far left as they can, and they keep going. Woke cereal now. Everything has been politicized. Every single thing under the sun, including the sun, have all been weaponized for political gain. All this ideology, all this cringeworthy, evil stuff coming from the left. And people who are on the right are just sitting back, kind of joining in, kind of chiming in. And so the establishment must be destroyed. It must be. And it's not just the political establishment. It's the media establishment. It's the academia establishment. It's the religious establishment. It's the entertainment establishment. All of these establishments have shaped American society, and it's starting to decay. But we have woken up, we the people, and we are battling back. So with that said, I'm going to wrap up because I have another interview coming up. I'm not going to tell you who it is, but you'll see, because after I do the interview, I'm going to upload it. It's probably not going to be broken into smaller clips, even though that would be more beneficial. I just don't know if I'll have clean breaks and I'll be able to do it in a way that looks natural. So anyway, that's what I'll be doing. So be on the lookout for that. It'll be uploaded today, maybe tomorrow. I haven't decided yet. I don't know. But I appreciate all you guys watching. Thank you for the super chat, Joey. Appreciate all the support. As always, guys, like, share, subscribe. Follow me on the Twitters, Instagram, and Facebook. Type in MikeNificent813 and I should pop right up. And I'm signing off. I will catch you guys in the next live stream and or video. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday.